case of Blitz, I wonder if the trial bar, if it's greedy trial lawyers who brought the case of the 4-year-old who was burned to death in his garage after he knocked over a Blitz can and exploded, or the 10-year-old from California who was burned 85% of his body when the gas can exploded, or the man who was walking down the street carrying a Blitz gas can when the static electricity from his body ignited the gas can. He was burned over 80% of his body, and I wonder if it was greedy trial lawyers who are responsible for bringing the case of the man whose lawnmower ran out of gas, and when he went to refuel, and while pouring, his can exploded and threw him through the barn door, and then he burst into a ball of flames. I wonder if it was greedy trial lawyers who were responsible for bringing the case of the 4-year-old in upstate New York who was burned over 80% of his body, or the 11-year-old who was roasting marshmallows around the campfire when the fire died and he went to pour some gas on and the can burst into flames. And then finally, I wonder if it's greedy trial lawyers who are responsible for bringing the case of a young boy from Florida, where I'm from, Jacob Joyner, who was 10 when he suffered second and third degree burns on over half of his body, and after 6 weeks in intensive burn treatment facilities, he passed away. I understand there is this ongoing effort to demonize lawyers. In every one of these instances, the only way that these tragic circumstances were going to be addressed, the nature of our tort system is such that the only way that any of these individuals or their families could pursue justice is through the courts, and so it's my understanding, and this is just what I'd like to chat a bit about, that as early as 1973, Consumer Reports had said that if fumes outside of a gas can ignite, a flashback is possible that could ignite the contents of the can itself, and they said then that such accidents can be prevented by a flame arrestor, which they had suggested should be legally required in all gas cans. And so, given, it's also my understanding, by the way, and I just like your thoughts on this, frankly, that the cost of those flame arrestors is about 4 cents, significantly less than the jump from $5 to $20 per gas can, and I just want to know whether it's you said the trial bar got greedy, and I want to know if it's the trial bar's fault that the decision was made by the company to manufacture something that where there was plenty of evidence of what could be done to prevent these things from happening, and if 20 years ago when the company was first sued, or before that when Blitz was first told that there was a way to prevent the explosions, if a flame arrestor had been included in these devices that the horribly mutilated, in some cases dead folks that I referred to wouldn't have been hurt. And frankly, if that decision had made, I mean, ultimately, there's a legitimate chance, isn't there, that the employees who we were told earlier are the ones who really paid the ultimate cost here, rather than these victims, whether they might not still have their jobs?
Well, that's a long question, and I'd like to break it down as you presented it. Oh, is this on? Okay. I think to your first point, you know, do I just blame the plaintiff's bar? No, I don't. I think they're a player in a system that's broken, and I believe if you waive
but I'm not asking about the system. I'm asking about each of these individuals who and their lawyers.
Well, I think you've got a fair amount of misinformation in the statements that you've made. You've listed purposefully, I think, a few cases where it's assumed that there wasn't misuse. And I don't, and that doesn't,
I'm out of time. The only question I have is, was there ever a moment where you considered putting flame arresters into the can?
yes, continually for years. And we studied it deeply, and we felt that it would cause more harm than good, and we didn't feel that it would make the cans safer. And I think it's a false assumption to say that this 4-cent device, which isn't a 4-cent device, would have.
How much does it cost? How much are they?
Well, it depends on how you do it, but then you get other unintended consequences, and it's easy for a plaintiff's lawyer to say, you could have done this and saved this person, but it takes more.
What's the unintended consequence by putting something in that could have prevented the explosions that wound up causing?
You could encourage people to accelerate fires with the product, thinking it's safer than it is.
Right. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.